Hey guys, Chris from Adapt Tuition here, and in this video, I'm going to show you the solution for question 2 from the May 2012 PoA Paper 2. If you want to see the solutions for the other questions on this paper, I'm going to put a card up there and a link in the description below. So be sure to check those out as well. And with that said, let's get into the question. Okay, so they are telling us that the sales ledger of JJ's Paradise showed the following balances at 31st December 2010. So we have three items here. Nat Lewis, 850, Jeb Stephen, 3,600, Anna Thomas, 450. Now, they go on to tell us that Mr. JJ has decided to write off these three receivables as bad debts. We are required to prepare the journal entry on page 5 of JJ's journal to write off these three receivables. Okay, so of course, when you're entering items in your general journal, as we know, the debit entries come first, the credit entries come second. Right? And also the credit entries are indented relative to the debit entries. Now we are writing off three debts as bad. To do that, we have to debit the bad debts account because it is an expense account, and we are crediting these debtors' personal accounts. Now we are crediting their personal accounts because they are debtors. Debtors are assets. If we are writing off a bad debt, we are basically cancelling the debt, which is like the ultimate decreasing to zero. So we're going to be crediting each of those three accounts individually. Further, the debit to the bad debts account, also sometimes called the bad debts expense account, is because, well, as I just said, it is an expense account. And the expense is that we are losing assets. Assets are losing value, and that is a loss to our business, or as we could say, an expense. So we are debiting the bad debts expense of 4,900. Now, how did I get 4,009? Well, simply adding up the individual balances that we are writing off will give us that total of 4,900. So like I said, the debit entries are entered first, the credit entries, the corresponding credit entries are entered next, and they are indented relative to the debit entry. And of course, they said we need a narration, so it says to record the writing off of three receivables or three debts as bad. You could also put three receivables as bad or uncollectible. Okay, let's take a look at the next part of the question. Okay, so they are telling us the remaining receivables total $28,320 at 31st December 2010. Mr. JJ believes that 10% of these outstanding receivables are likely to become bad debts. He wishes to make adequate provision for these doubtful debts. We are required to prepare the journal entry with a narrative to create the provision for doubtful debts account. Okay, so before we jump into that, if you want to check out the full tutorial on how to do provision for bad debts, calculation, T account, and extracts and these things, I'm going to put a card up there and a link in the description below. So be sure to check that out if you have trouble with the provision for bad debts or if you need to learn anything about it. If, however, you feel comfortable enough to proceed with the rest of the solution, let's go ahead. Okay, so they told us that the remaining receivables total $28,320, and we have to make a provision of 10% of that figure. So 10% of $28,320 is $2,832. Now, what's the debit and what's the credit? Now, for the purpose of CSEC POA, the double entry to record the increase or creation of the provision for bad debts or provision for doubtful debts is debit the income statement and credit the provision for bad debts account. So let's put that in now, shall we? So debit income statement, $2,832, credit the provision for doubtful debts account, and it's going to say to record the creation of the provision for doubtful debts account. Well, it should say account there. Or just to record the creation of the provision for doubtful debts. That's fine. All right. Okay, so with that done, let's take a look at the next part of the question, shall we? Okay, so it says on 31st December 2011, which is 1 year after what took place in the previous part of the question, Mr. JJ's receivable after bad debts totaled $25,000. He decided to use the same rate of 10% as the previous year in accounting for doubtful debts. Okay, what do we have to do? It says draw up the provision for doubtful debts account for the 2 years, 1st January 2010 to 31st December 2011, to show the change in the provision. Balance the account at the end of each year. Okay, so let's open up the provision for doubtful debts account, and we are going to put in on the credit side the $2,832 for 2010. Remember, we found 10% of the $28,320, and it was that figure, $2,832. And we debited income statement and we credited the provision account. So this is the credit for the provision account. lot of time, students say, well, look, you have income statement on the credit side. So this is a credit to income statement. And I'm like, no, it's not. This is a credit to the provision account and the details. So you could put the word details here or particulars if you want. This tells us the other account affected by this entry, which is the income statement. Okay, now at the end of 2010, we're just going to balance off the account, total of both sides, and we are going to bring the balance down to 2011. Now in 2011, remember we said that the question told us that we have 25,000, where is it? 25,000, right? Which is the receivables after bad debts, and we're using the same 10% to make the provision. Now we find 10% of 25,000, that's 2,500. But that's less than the existing provision of 2,832. My bad. So what that means is that the provision has to decrease. It has to decrease from 2,832 to 2,500. That's a decrease of $332. And we get that by taking 2,832 and subtracting 2,500. Now that's going to go on the debit side because the provision for doubtful debts has a credit balance. And to decrease an item that has a credit balance, you have to debit the account. And when we balance off the account now, which of course will be the total on the credit side minus the total on the debit side, we are going to get 2,500, which is not a coincidence because that is the amount of the provision we calculated just a little earlier. Remember, 10% of 25,000, sorry. Okay, so we're going to total up both sides, get 2,832, and the balance of 2,500 is brought down in 2012. Okay, let's take a look at the last part of the question. Okay, so the first part of the last part says, state one reason why adjustments are made to financial statements. And there's a relatively simple answer to that. Adjustments are made to financial statements to cater for items such as the provision for depreciation, the provision for doubtful debts, and accrued or prepaid portions of expenses and revenues. All right. The next part of the last part says, identify one concept which guides adjustments to financial statements. Now, you know me. I'm not just going to give you one. I'm going to give you a few. So you can pick whichever one you like the best. So I put concepts which guide adjustments to financial statements include the matching principle, the accruals concept, and the prudence concept or conservatism. And finally, it says, explain how the concept identified in B part 2 above guides adjustments made to financial statements, 2 marks. So of course I gave you guys 3 concepts, so I'm going to give you 3 explanations. So by the way, if you're not taking notes, what are you really doing? Okay, so let's pull up those items here. So the first one I talked about was the matching principle. The matching principle says that to calculate profit earned in a reporting period, the entity, company or sole trader or partnership must match the revenue it earned with the expenses incurred in the creation of that revenue. An example of the application of this principle is where the provision for depreciation is used to charge a portion of a non-current asset's cost against revenue over the revenue earned over the course of the asset's useful life. Let's put in the word earned there. Earned, right? So we're matching the revenue earned from the use of the asset with the cost of using the asset, right? So in this way, the revenue generated from the use of the asset is matched against the expense of using the asset. It's depreciation every year over the asset's useful life, okay? Next, we have the accruals concept. It says that in the process of calculating profit for a reporting period, an entity must match a revenue earned in the reporting period regardless of how much, if any, of that revenue was actually received. And you're matching that with the expenses incurred in the generation of that revenue, again, regardless of how much, if any, of those expenses were actually paid. An example of the application of this concept is where we cater for accrued and or prepaid components of revenues and expenses, right? So the accruals concept governs accruals and prepayments. And the last item, which is the one kind of most applicable to this question because we were doing the provision for the bad debt, is the prudence concept or conservatism. And this is a concept intended to preserve the integrity of the information contained in the financial statements of an entity by guiding accountants to exercise caution in the face of uncertainty. What do we mean by that? As an example of how this concept guides adjustments to financial statements is when we create and maintain a provision for doubtful debts in order to provide a more realistic estimate of the value of receivables that the entity can reasonably expect to collect. Another example is where we use the lower of cost or net realizable value when valuing inventory in the statement of financial position. Okay, that's about it for this question. All right, guys, so there you have it. That's the solution for question 2 from the May 2012 POA Paper 2. If you have any questions about it, please feel free to leave it in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you when I have a chance. If you want to check out any more videos, I'm going to put some cards up here. Don't forget to subscribe, and please be sure to check out my website where you'll find some pretty useful POA handouts. Anyway, guys, as per usual, thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time. Bye.